Hi friends, I'm Tammy K. Welcome to my channel, and today we are going to be painting with not one, not two, but three Dagger brushes. Here they are. This is part 2 of my little brush series. There'll be 3 parts, so check out the next one coming out soon. I wanted to do a floral composition, and this is what we did, we as in me, and we'll be painting this together today. This is not my first attempt. I did this yesterday, absolutely hated it. This was my sample. And I loved that. So I think it's still wet. I should probably be careful with it. Let's go ahead and paint, and I'll show you what to do with your Dagger brushes. They're fun. Okay, so to revisit those Dagger brushes, I have a 3/4 inch, a 1/2 inch, and a 1/4 inch. And so I'm going to show you what these guys can do. I've got my Saunders Waterford paper. I've got my Winsor Newton professional tube paints in this lovely palette. And paper towel, water, all the things. Let's get to it. So we're going to dip into here. We're going to do the petals first and then the middle. And what I want to do is just try to kind of vary up some of those colors. So we're just going to start grabbing some color from this lovely mixing palette. I'm going to hold it this way so the point is pointed down, and then this curved part is away from me. And I want to make sure that my brush is moist enough. So we're just going to press down and create a nice petal shape, and then over here as well. And then I might grab some red here, and then we're going to do a second one over here. So the way that these petals come out, I just find them to be so beautiful. I love the shapes. We're going to make sure to keep that center open for the middle that we'll be putting in later. So keeping that white is what I meant to say. We're going to add in probably 7 petals here. And I have to be honest, this is the second version of this painting that I have done because I did this yesterday. And I did not love how it turned out. I loved how my sample turned out. This is my sample that I'm trying to redo. And this is just on cheap paper, guys. And I loved it. And then I did the actual paper, the painting, and I didn't do as many petals. I just found it to be dissatisfactory. So sometimes that happens. Just add another one here. You don't always love how your work turns out. It's okay to remind yourself it's practice, and you can do it again. And that is the example I'm sharing today. You can always redo it. Okay, so now we have our 7-petaled flower, and I'm just going to dip into some of the concentrated paint. We're just going to create some wet on wet features here, elements, by just kind of sketching in a little bit of a middle, allowing that to start bleeding, and you're going to get some gorgeous color and some gorgeous mixing through this. Some of the tips as well. I'm just going to add those in. And you don't have to do much to now make it a little bit fancy by adding in some color. All right, we're going simple. We're trying to be as simple as possible. This guy is going to be a side facing over here, this guy or this gal. So angling your brush as we already have, like this, and then creating that floral shape there. I'm actually going to keep going with this. I believe it's Potter's Pink, this mauvey color. It's so beautiful. Might get some purple in there. Whatever. Keeping the white to the center of your paper so that you can, this one will be a little bit smaller, so that you can add in a beautiful green center that we'll be using later on. And this one right here. So these petals are beautiful. You can use a round brush, but you're just going to get a different shape, I guess, that might have some angular parts, which I really like. So I'm going to just shy away from, hitting up the edge of the paper. Just kind of stopping short before I get to that. Why? I don't know. It's just what I'm doing. You do what makes sense for your floral composition. And then we're going to create some of that beautiful texture or design by adding in wet on wet, adding in some more of that concentrated color. And we'll just let that dry and hang out and see how it looks. So now we're going to do a kind of a little bud situation over here. And I'm going to switch to my 1/2 dagger here. So really whatever colors you want to go for. are totally fine. If you want to make them different colors like I did, and we'll just add in maybe 3 petals. If you need a little bit more water, you can grab some. So I'm just doing that same technique that I did before in a little C curve shape, adding it in, one more over here as well. Okay, nice little guy, little bud. And now we're going to connect things with our greenery. So I'm grabbing my sap green. I already have some on my palette, grabbing a little bit more. And some of that green gold too, just mixing it up nice and bright. And maybe a little blue as well over here, just kind of hanging out. So we'll just start adding in our stems. I'm gonna draw that in, and you've got this lovely thin tip here. So now you can make some really thin marks, and we're just gonna follow that through all the way down here, kind of curving that stem around. And we'll do another one here for this one, maybe a little bit thicker because it's a bigger flower. And this guy over here, we can't really, we can do a stem actually right here. It's just kind of arcing, and then adding that one down here. I like to keep them a little bit different lengths, different thicknesses a little bit if I can. And so now the fun part is starting to add in the foliage. This is going to be a very simple painting, so I'm not going to add in more blooms than that. But we're going to do a focus on the leaves now. So we have a tiny little stem, and then I've got that pointed part down again, and we're just going to just kind of dab, really. Dabbing until we get a nice leaf shape. I'm leaving it kind of pointed there. Leaving some white space. If you want it to be thicker, go for it. I like it to be kind of broken up like that. I just think that it looks interesting. So we could do 2 sides if you want, like this, and then try again the other side as well. Leave a little white space just for some difference here. And I'm going to grab some of this turquoise that I already have on my palette. We're going to change up the leaf colors. I want to add in, let's see, I'm going to do one right here. And what I want to do is I want to have some balance. So since the florals are more towards this side of the page, I'm going to focus a lot on getting the foliage to come out over here and balance some of this out. So I'm going to leave that for maybe a larger brush. But let's just go ahead and add in a leaf right here. So see how I'm just dabbing and kind of scrubbing and just being really, easygoing. With this nice point here, you can do just some kind of little sketchy lines. And let's go ahead, switch up to the big brush. I'm using the turquoise again. I'm dipping in there, maybe a little bit more color. It's such a beautiful color. And we're just going to kind of make a line. This is for that stem right here, just a little bit of a line. And just see how I'm just doing that with the brush, just kind of dabbing. So that's the effect here, dabbing. And let's even do a nice bigger one over here. So look at how pretty, you just did one side and you've got a thinness here, and then you've got the thickness of the brush. So it's fun to play around, twisting and turning it and seeing what kind of marks you can end up creating. Remember, I'm trying to create balance, and I'm going on this side here too. I feel like using a dagger, for me at least, creates just this more creative version of myself. And because I'm doing these marks, I just find with this brush, I find that I end up doing them more in an interesting way, because when I use a round brush, I tend to just kind of do that C curve shape on one side, C curve shape on the other, and that's it for my leaves. Well, let's do a few on this side. I do love the turquoise. I'm going to water down just a little bit, and let's just do a few on this side here. So I'm going to do that same kind of touching down, little squiggly marks, and then one over here as well. And we'll connect them with a thin stem afterwards. And then on this side. So it looks a little wonky at this point, but it will come together. Just kind of rounding that one out also. So that's where I like this little 1/4 inch dagger, because it's got such a thin point, but it does some really fun marks, in my opinion. So we're just going to connect everything together right here and right here. So everybody's connected. We've got our leaves out there, And if you want to do a few little squiggly marks, you can, just for some creativity. I think I need another leaf down here. I'll just use this one still, right here. Just dabbing away and scrubbing away. Let's just grab the half, grab some sap, and let's add another leaf kind of poking out right here. And so we're getting to a good space with our foliage. I feel like everything is getting filled out pretty well. And you're wanting to find that balance between, certain elements in your painting so that it feels natural and that it makes sense. Next, we want to start adding in a little bit more color back into our florals. Nothing too like crazy or fancy, or I should say, it might be fancy. Nothing too like complicated, okay? We're just using this brush and just kind of dabbing in some color. It's gonna dry in a way that's really pretty. It's just a little bit of accent, but like I'm just using this really fat brush to make the marks. Let's do the other ones here. I'm just grabbing random color. Honestly, I'm not thinking too hard about it, but I want you just to dab the color on some of the petal, maybe other parts not so much, and just, it's gonna look really sweet and effortless. I want this tutorial to be something that's quick and easy, just like my last tutorial, part 1. If you haven't caught it, it should be linked in the description of this video. And it's just about working with your lovely filbert brushes for florals. And at this point, if you haven't already hit the like button, please do. And also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Then you'll know when I have more posts in the future and all the fun stuff we're doing. And remember, you can join Patreon 7-day free trial for many of the bonus content tiers. And that's where I teach watercolor to you guys. We have a lot of fun. You get exclusive tutorials. There's even a live stream tier, art prints, and just more interaction with me as well. So check that out. All right, so these guys are done for now. We're gonna do our centers soon. And I want to add in a little bit of brown to this to chill it out because it's super intense, but I'm gonna go over my florals again with this large brush. And we're just going to dab, 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 and just create some texture, some contour, some interest, some shadows, whatever you want to call it. So look, the shape of the brush doing the work for me, effortless, easy peasy. You can do this. Take a deep breath, guys. The mental health therapist in me is telling you if you need to relax a little, if you're feeling stressed at all, take a deep breath. I'm going to take one right now. Feels really good. Sometimes you need to take 2 or 3 to feel like you're resetting. I'm going to use my tiniest brush soon, especially for our centers, but let's go ahead and do another layer for these leaves. This is just the easiest way to paint leaves and to create those shadows. This is a very quick and easy way, and I hope that you are enjoying it with me today. So the thinnest brush, because it's got a great point, and you could make little leaves with this if you wanted to. I haven't focused on that today, but it's also great. I've really enjoyed having the larger brushes, the larger daggers, really just to help out. I'm just making that longer for whatever reason, helping out today with the leaves. All right. So when we feel stressed out, it often gets reflected. Actually, it does always get reflected in our art and our paintings. So we just have to try to, relax ourselves a little bit and remind ourselves this is supposed to be fun. This is practice. We're always getting better every time we practice. So chalk up your practice to be successful. Even if you didn't feel like you loved everything you painted, figure out what you can take from the experience and apply it for next time. So these thin marks here, I'm just going over it with a different color of green for fun. We're gonna dry it, and then we're gonna get those centers done. We're almost done, guys. Just kidding about the centers, we are not done. I actually wanted to do one more leaf. I was looking at it and I thought, you know what? Just for balance, let's have one more large leaf over here. And so that's what I'm doing. So when you stop your video and you just take a little peruse at your painting, sometimes you see some things that you'd like to see different, that you'd like to change. It's a great time to add something. Usually you can't subtract, but you can always try to add if you feel like that would be helpful for your composition. So there we go. So now we've got our centers and then we're done. Got that sap green. Beautiful, beautiful color. I love it. I'm going to stipple, and that's where this thin brush comes in handy again in one way. So I'm making the center pretty large, just little tiny dots in the shape of a circle, leaving a little white space for some highlights and some interest. Then we're going to take our brush, flick out some little, what I like to call eyelashes for our flower. It's not eyelashes, but anyway, I just find it to be, it reminds me of eyelashes. So there you go. Some lines, some long ones, some short ones, whatever you desire to do. And then we're just going to take some little dots. We're going to make some dots, stippling here, which is just what stippling is, adding in those dots for the fancy stamen. And then your center is pretty much complete. And we're going to do that for the other one too. It just makes her so fancy. And I'm trying to find a spot here where I can rest the palm of my hand. It gives you more control. You can rest it down on something. I'm just doing the same thing here that we did already. Nice thinnish lines, drawing out that color. If they're a little bit thicker, that's okay. Work as fast or slow as you feel like you need to go today. It's all good. If you have too much white space, you can fill it in a little bit, and that is also completely appropriate. So there we go. And then lastly, I want to add in some splatter. I'm going to take my smallest brush once again. Splatter is going to be this lovely pink color. And let's just hit our brush and distribute those little splatters all over for some floral magic on our paper. Look at that. All right, I hope you enjoyed painting this with me today and talking a little bit about briefly just relaxing and allowing your body to not be stressed out when you paint. I wish you happy painting, happy mental health, and I'll see you soon on the next video.